Hey, welcome back. In the last class, we talked about what's going on in the brain in moments of upset. So we know that those occasions are not the best time to teach our kids different behavior or try to fix anything. But now that you know how to regulate out of that fight or flight mode, let's talk about how we can deal with problems and conflicts that arise in the people we love. So here's an example. Say you're trying to get your child to sleep. She's had a bath and a bedtime snack, and you're giving her all your attention. You've read books and listened to her talk about all the interesting things she did today. Now you're singing to her and she stops you and asks for another snack. Then another book, then another song. For what seems like the bazillionth time, you feel duped. Why can't we just go to sleep? Why does it have to take so long? You want to support her, give her what she needs, and not yell at her and make her do it all alone, but you're tired too, and you're starting to feel manipulated. So what do? I'll give you a hint. Right now is not the time to fix this. It can wait. Then when is the right time? Well, it's not tonight, and it's not tomorrow night when it happens again, or the next night when you start dreading what's coming. These are not great moments for solving a problem. And this is a problem. It's happened time and time again. You know it's an issue, but when do you remember that it's an issue? At bedtime, the time of not fixing the problem. Or maybe even when you're venting to a friend. Also the time of not fixing the problem. Then when can we fix it? Well, before you know that, you need to know who's involved. Because this is not something you're solving on your own. You're going to make it better together. So if it's you and your one child, the two of you need to agree on a good time to talk about it. If it's 2 parents and 3 children, you're having a family meeting. Pick a time when everyone is regulated, feeling good, and able to discuss. This is the time for solving the problem. Now, I know it's easy to feel like everything needs to sort of be nipped in the bud right away. That's when we most feel the need to do something about it. So if it helps, when you're in that moment, write a note for yourself to remember to make time to talk about it tomorrow. But have you ever had someone, maybe a child, spouse, coworker, complain to you about something you're not doing that they want you to do, but they've never brought it up before? And you just think, oh, well, why didn't you just ask me to do it? It's a similar kind of thing. If something is not working for you and you wait to bring it up until it feels the strongest, you're not really going to get what you need from it anyways. So make time to talk. Ask your child, hey, I'd like to talk with you about bedtime or whatever the issue is. Would it be better for you to talk now or after lunch? Find a time where they can really engage with you. And even if they're young, engage with you at the best level they can for their maturity. And then when you do get to that time, this can happen in many different ways. And I'll give you one very practical way to work on this together. Call it a problem-solving session. So when you're there with your family, get out a piece of paper. You are going to write everything down. First, tell them what you think the problem is. Bedtime, school, chores, interactions with siblings, whatever. And then how you feel about it. Not what you want to do about it or whose fault it is or who needs to change. Just what it is. So I'm having a problem with bedtime. It seems to take a long time and I get really tired. It seems like you guys don't want to be alone and I don't want to keep getting you another snack or reading another book or things like that because I want to go to bed too. and tell them you want to figure out how you can make this better for everyone together. And then ask for their perspective and how they feel about it. Write it down. Maybe one kid says the room is too dark and that scares them. Maybe another just wants to spend more time with you. Maybe they don't feel tired. Whatever they say, write it down. Once you've heard from everyone about how they're feeling, empathize and then figure out what the needs are there. Like if one kid says, I need more snacks because I just get more hungry. Maybe they really are feeling hungry. Or maybe they're lonely. Or they've simply gotten into the habit of having 2 snacks every night. You might find that once you start looking for solutions, the real needs come to the surface. So after doing all of that, start to brainstorm ways of fixing this problem. Write down every idea, yours and theirs, even if it isn't realistic. Maybe even throw in some of your own silly ways to get everyone's needs met. Like, we could just fly on a rocket ship to a different planet where bedtime never happens. Don't correct or say, well, that won't really work in this part. You're only coming up with options. Maybe making a totally new routine, doing something earlier in the day that would help, getting a lamp, or trading off with your partner. Your kids might surprise you with what they come up with. And then when you get a good list of thoughts, now you'll start going through them one by one to weed out the ones that won't work at all, and the ones that are a real possibility. There might be some compromise here. Maybe you come across one that you wouldn't necessarily choose if it was all up to you, but that you'd be willing to do for them, or at least try. So come down to one solution that you can all agree on. One that can meet each of your needs as much as possible. If you end up with multiple seemingly good options, this just gives you more space to do something different if the one you pick first doesn't work out. So once you pick something, you could even make a sign with this new plan to hang up somewhere you'll see it. Have your kids create it, drawing pictures if they can't read yet. The more involved they are in this process, the more invested they will feel in following through. And if it feels right, make an agreement. Okay, we're going to try this new way for 3 nights or for 1 week. And at the end of that time, we'll talk about it again and see if there's anything we need to change. Deal? Deal. If it's a big issue with a lot of factors, it could take a while. Trying one thing and trying another thing, multiple problem-solving sessions. And the solution you pick might be the best one, and it can still take a bit of time to adjust to it. And it could also take very little time and effort, especially as you all practice problem solving more and more. Because you're not only working with your kids to do something about these conflicts, you're teaching them how to do it themselves, to do it with their friends, to do it with you when they have a problem. Now, as your kids grow and change, this process can grow and change too. Right now, this is new. So you might need to write down every idea and explore every possibility in order for them to feel heard and like they have a say in the matter, that this isn't just another way for you to try and get them to do what you want. When your child is able to express their needs, wants, and feelings with a sense of power in directing their own life, they will be more open to connection, to trusting you with the deepest parts of themselves. And that bond will strengthen over time until it is totally normal for them to come to you and say things like, I'm feeling really lonely because of what happened at school today. Could we just snuggle on the couch and watch a funny movie together? As that relationship evolves, so will the conversation. So let's look at how this might differ, especially with older kids and adults. Very similar to the process I already described, this kind of conversation is all about hearing from every side and figuring out how to move forward together. So set up a good time to talk. And then when you come into that conversation, be upfront about your intentions for your time together. Sort of setting the stage for what you're wanting to discuss. Maybe your goal is to begin repairing a relationship, or clear up a misunderstanding, or to bring closer connection and make life better moving forward. It could even be to set a boundary or end a friendship. Meeting something head on like this can be really challenging. There's a reason many of us say we hate confrontation. And it probably comes from bad experiences with being upfront in the past. Speaking your feelings means you're rejected or disregarded. Sharing what's going on with you means fuel for later criticism. Or discussing a problem is just a lose-lose. You may have a lot of evidence that tells you how bad of an idea this is. Do it anyways, because this time you're not going to do it like you have before. And this time you want to make this something that you're good at. So you're going to keep practicing and become so skilled at it that you'll wonder why you ever avoided it in the first place. Alright, so state your intention and then take responsibility. Say, this is something that's been bothering me for a while and I'm really sorry I waited so long to have a direct conversation with you. Or maybe it's something like, I know I haven't handled things like this very well in the past, but I'm trying to work on that now and I want this conversation to be better. And then after that, tell the other person that you'd like to share how you're feeling and what you see from your side, and that you want to hear the same from them. And ask, is that okay with you? You don't want to be just telling them something. You want it to be a two-way dialogue. Seek to understand them and where they're coming from as well. Now, it might help to prepare yourself before this conversation by figuring out what your feelings and needs around this issue really are. Especially if it's been something you've been holding in for some time. Allow yourself the space to bring it to the surface, whatever's going on internally. And be honest about it. Tell the other person what's going on in your mind without blaming. I love the method of saying, the story I'm making up in my head is that. Then you're able to share what's true for you while also acknowledging it may be different than the other person's point of view. Then listen to their perspective without trying to correct or defend. Just empathize. Create that environment where they can feel free to express their own feelings and thoughts and needs. And finally, make a request. Come together toward a solution or a way to move forward. Or ask, would you be willing to? And set the stage for your future together. Now, when you use these kind of problem-solving methods, you're also communicating how you want others, your friend, your partner, your kids, to come to you when there's an issue. Empowering them to talk about what they need instead of suppressing those feelings until they explode out later. We touched on this a little bit in talking about empathy. When we empower our kids and give them room to do things on their own, they'll learn to solve many of their own problems themselves and ask for help when they need it. Of course, if this is a new concept, it might take time to develop. If they're used to us doing everything for them or telling them what to do, they may not know how to listen to their own voice and trust their own creativity and ability to make decisions and try new things. Our kids are totally separate human beings. They're not extensions of us. They may be able to help themselves in a way we could never do for them because they're unique and have different ways of seeing the world than we do. We have great power in the lives of our children. And you can use that power to try and make them into someone or something, telling them that who they are is not okay, that they need to be different than they are, and that they can't trust their own mind. Or you can use that power to come alongside them and draw out that incredible person that they already are, helping them to develop their own skills in a way that will set them up for success all through their lives. There's no one-size-fits-all formula for problem-solving, teaching, or growing skills. But doing it all with relationship with them instead of control over them will empower our kids to be everything they can be and build blueprints they won't have to recover from once they're grown. Sometimes we have this idea that giving our kids more freedom will only cause them to walk all over us or do whatever they want all the time or become more than we can handle. And it's true. If we raise our kids by trying to control them, one day they won't be under our control anymore. And they might very well rebel or want nothing to do with us or start doing the opposite of the things we tried to teach them. Because control or force doesn't actually teach our kids to have manners or be kind or persevere. It teaches them to act in those ways, especially when they're around us, not to be that person. And ultimately, that internal motivation will be the main driving force in their lives, which we'll dig into more in the next class. Our kids are amazing human beings. And we forget it sometimes, don't we? We get so caught up in all the stuff going on in our lives, we feel overwhelmed, seeing all the things that are frustrating, all the things about our kids that annoy us. And then there are those moments, aren't there, where they surprise us, where we look into their eyes and see them for the miraculous people that they are. So amazed by how they've grown, what they're learning, the way they see the world. Take a second right now and close your eyes and really see your children. Forget about your grievances. Look past their behavior into who they are at the core. All the things about them that make you smile. Their curiosity, the adorable way they say things, what they like, their natural talents, the skills they've developed, their beautiful smile, the way they laugh. Remind yourself of who these little or not so little people are. Look through their eyes. See what they see. How can you connect with that person? How can you help them to flourish? What do they need from you? What problems are they having right now? And what do they need in order to overcome those problems? Now open your eyes and write down what has come to mind here. When we can separate our children's learning journey from our own triggered reactions, we can teach in a way they will understand, allowing them to give and show their authentic best, instead of forcing something out of them that they're not ready for yet. The way you feel about your children's behavior is not a reflection of their behavior, and whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, helpful or unhelpful. Your feelings are a response to your own thoughts, your history, your blueprint, likely your childhood. So when your child does something that upsets you, when you get frustrated or when you're annoyed, when you feel like they need to be corrected, when it seems like they're getting on your last nerve, instead of trying to use this moment to change them or get them to do something or make them pay, use this moment to show them how you are trying to change, how you are learning to take responsibility for your own feelings, how you want them to respond when they feel like you do. Model for them what you want to see in them. Our children are paying attention to us far more than we often realize. And when we get stuck on techniques focused around doing something about our kids, we miss one of the most important aspects of parenting: the parent. Our example is probably the most influential piece in our children's lives. And if we want them to learn accountability, conflict resolution, and responsibility, if we want them to be good listeners, learners, and overcomers, we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to mutually resolve our conflicts with them. We need to be responsible for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. We need to listen to them. We need to learn and grow. We need to overcome our own challenges. We cannot expect our children to display what they've never seen, what we've never showed them. We cannot make them live up to a standard we're not willing to live up to ourselves. We cannot ask them to do things we are not willing to do either. And if that feels like too much pressure on you, it's probably too much pressure on them as well. Give yourself grace. Give your children grace. Take some space and forget about being in charge for a minute. These children are human just like you are. You have a lot in common. You feel the same things. You deal with many of the same struggles. You need to learn some of the same things. You both live in this world, this place, this home, this family, and you have a lot to offer them. Don't let your triggers from the past or the feeling of what you should be doing get in the way of your connection. Build a relationship where you can grow and learn together, and you won't have to worry about traditional discipline ever again. Your children can become great problem solvers. They can learn from mistakes. They can grow and mature. They can learn how to communicate and behave in ways appropriate to the situation. And so can you. Practice empathy instead of fixing. Problem solving instead of correcting. Teaching instead of punishing. Which we'll continue discussing in the next class. In the meantime, what can you do right now to show acceptance to yourself? To release the pressure you've put yourself under and love you right where you are, exactly who you are. A learning, growing, beautifully messy, imperfect human being who is trying to navigate life as a parent in the best way you can. I'll see you in the next class.